What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. In this video, I just want to talk to you guys about maintaining your suppressor and whether or not you should clean your suppressors. So the answer is no, you don't have to clean your suppressors. You should always follow what your manufacturer says in the instruction book that comes with your suppressor, but generally speaking, you do not have to clean a suppressor. And what you're looking at here are two of my suppressors. On the left is a Silencer Co. Hybrid 46, and on the right is a Silencer Co. Omega 300. And so I do kind of clean my suppressors, but I'll show you what I mean by that. I don't actually go in and clean the baffles. I just clean like kind of the outside baffle, and I'll show you what I mean. But basically, when it comes to suppressors, you don't generally have to clean them, because what happens is you have a lot of pressure and heat inside of the suppressor every time you shoot around. And so that pressure and heat kind of blasts away any fouling or anything that builds up inside. So generally speaking, you do not have to clean suppressors, whether they're sealed or not sealed. You don't have to. These are actually sealed suppressors. So what that means is I can't take these apart. These are fully welded. I cannot take the baffles out. You can buy suppressors that you can take the baffles out and you can clean the baffles. But these particular suppressors that I have are welded, so I cannot take the baffles out. But really, you don't need to. Okay, the only thing that's really going to build up in a baffle is just a thin layer of carbon or fouling, like you see here. You see that black stuff? It's just a thin layer of carbon that just adheres to the metal, and that thin layer of carbon is always going to be there, and it's really not going to build up inside of the baffles, because again, there's just so much heat and pressure in those baffles that it'll just blast away any kind of buildup. But you will have this thin coat of carbon after you take the first couple of shots on a clean, brand new suppressor out of the box. You're going to see this dirty look inside of your suppressor, and there's nothing to worry about. Okay, that's just normal carbon buildup that's unavoidable, and you don't have to panic and start cleaning and sticking stuff inside of your suppressor. And that's actually very dangerous, to try to run a cleaning patch through one of these. It's really a bad idea, because you could have a pressure buildup situation if there's some solvent that gets stuck inside of one of these baffles, or maybe part of a cleaning patch, or some kind of debris gets in there, and then you fire a shot that could cause an overpressure situation. You could blow up your suppressor. Okay, so don't do that. Just follow the instructions. For Silencer Co., they don't recommend cleaning your silencers or suppressors at all. You can dip these in a solvent bath. You can buy special solvents, and you can actually just dunk this inside of like a tub of solvent and leave it for a while, and then take it out, and it'll dissolve a lot of the fouling that builds up inside of the baffles. If we're talking about a sealed suppressor like these, if you have a suppressor that you can take apart, by all means, if you can take it apart, it's not a bad idea to clean it periodically, but I'm telling you, you don't have to do that, okay? It's not super critical like with a rifle, where you have to clean the bore, because the bore gets really dirty, and you know, that's very bad for a lot of things. You can get poor accuracy and other issues, but with a suppressor, you don't really need to do that. Now, one thing that I do like to do is I will clean this outer baffle. You can see this one's quite dirty, And what I'll do is I'll just take a cleaning patch with some solvent and I'll wipe just this outer part right here. That's it. I don't go into it. I don't go into the actual suppressor. I just wipe off this fouling here. Okay, I don't scrape it. You don't have to scrape it. You don't have to get any kind of brush. All you do is just get a patch, soak it with some good quality solvent, and just wet this area here, and it'll just loosen up all that fouling in there. Okay, you can see there's quite a bit. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll show you guys the results, and I'll show you how I actually do it. But I'm very careful not to have any solvent drip inside of the suppressor down the hole there, or have any chunks of fouling that could flake off and fall in there. I'm very careful about that. Okay, so you have to be very careful when you're doing this. Another thing I like to do is I like to clean the threads. Okay, this is just the outer threads for the muzzle cap. Okay, so this is just the cap that goes on the end. And I also like to clean the threads on the other side. And this is the Silencer Co. ASR mount, which allows me to basically mount this suppressor over a flash hider or muzzle brake. And so what I'll do is I'll clean the threads on both sides, okay, where the cap goes and where the mount goes. I'll clean those threads because carbon builds up on those threads. And then more importantly than cleaning your suppressor is actually cleaning your muzzle, okay? Because when you shoot a rifle or a firearm with a suppressor, there's a lot of gas coming back into your firearm. So you're going to get a lot more fouling wherever the gas is going to condense, okay? Interestingly, you're not going to get a lot of fouling inside of the baffles of your suppressor because it's just so much heat and pressure in those baffles. So you're not going to have a lot of fouling building up in the baffles, but you're going to have fouling building up right on the outside because that's where these gases condense, okay, because it's cooler, and that's where you get the fouling buildup, okay? But this is just after shooting probably over 100 rounds of 300 Win Mag and probably 200 or 300 rounds of 308. You could see all that fouling there. I could probably still shoot this for a while. It's not going to affect anything at all. But I'm just going to clean a little bit here and get that fouling off. All right. And I'll show you guys how I do that. Now, so you want to clean your muzzle. And when I say clean your muzzle, you want to clean the muzzle threads. The muzzle threads get really fouled up because all the gases come back. Also, if you're using an AR with a suppressor, you're going to get a lot of gas coming back into your action, into your upper receiver, and it's going to foul up where your bolt channel is, okay? And that could affect operation of your firearm because what will happen is you'll have all this type of fouling and it's going to build up where your bolt goes, okay, in the receiver, and the bolt ends up having a hard time moving in and out of the chamber and locking up with the chamber, okay, because of all the fouling. So more importantly than cleaning your suppressor is actually cleaning your muzzle threads, cleaning your muzzle crown. You'll get a lot of fouling on the muzzle crown. You'll also get a lot of fouling inside of your receiver in your chamber, the channel for your bolt and your charging handle as well. The channel for your charging handle, you're going to get a lot of fouling in there because gas is going to come back into the receiver, okay, a lot more than without a suppressor. So that's more important than actually cleaning the suppressor itself. So I'm going to clean this and I'll show you guys how I do it. So stay tuned. All right, guys, so I just got a cleaning patch. I got some Vortec Eliminator. Absolutely love this solvent. It's a little bit pricey, but it's good. It doesn't have a nasty smell and it's non-toxic. So I'm just going to wet this patch a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe the inside and just kind of wet this part right here that's all fouled up without getting any solvent to drip inside. So you got to be very careful. You just want to carefully wet the outside and just kind of rub that fouling. It's a lot of fouling, but once you wet it, it'll soften right up and just come right off. So you don't need to really put a lot of pressure. It's actually good to hold the suppressor down like this, so if any fouling breaks off, it doesn't go into the baffles. Okay, so just gonna do that. All right, so you can see how I wet the inside there, and I'm just gonna keep rubbing the inside. Look at how dirty this patch is already. Look at that. I'm just gonna rub the inside and try to get that fouling to come loose and fall apart. Look at this now. Wow, that is just crazy. All right, and the solvent will just take that right off. Look, isn't that crazy? All right, that's pretty much it. You don't have to go in there and clean the baffles. You can if you want to. If you have a suppressor that you can take apart, if you can take it apart, by all means go ahead and do it, but you don't have to do it like all the time. I wouldn't even do it more than every couple hundred rounds. That's probably enough. All right, you can see it's already starting to look more clean. See that? It's already a little bit more clean. Look how dirty this patch is. So I'm just going to keep doing that until I get all that crap out, okay? And I probably won't have to touch it again for another, I don't know, couple hundred rounds. So there's a lot of fouling in here, but it'll come out. And that's pretty much it. That's all you really need to do. And, you know, if you've had a suppressor for a while or you've put a lot of rounds through it, like a couple thousand, you may want to do a solvent bath. You know, you just dunk your suppressor in solvent and it'll loosen up anything that's in there. You obviously want to make sure that it's completely dry before shooting again, so you don't mess up your suppressor or have a dangerous situation occur. So I'm going to keep cleaning and I'll show you guys the results once it's done. All right, guys, so I've been cleaning for about 15 minutes and look at how much cleaner it is now. You can actually see the metal. There's still all this fouling in here. You see that? So that's what I'm going to work on the next 15 minutes, but you can see how clean it is now compared to what it was before, but we still have all that fouling to clean up. And I'll just show you how dirty my cleaning cloth is. Look at this, all this fouling here. So literally what I'm doing is I'm just taking one finger. Okay, this is like a heavy duty shop towel, and these shop towels will actually work better than patches because you're going to go through a lot of patches. So I just stick my finger through and I'll just wet a little bit, just the tip of my finger, just like so. And then I go in and I just rub the inside just like that. And I make sure to hold the suppressor so it's facing down, so in case anything flakes off or if there's any solvent that starts to want to drip inside, it's going to drip down, okay, with gravity. Look at that. All right, so I'm going to keep working on this, but that's pretty much it. That's all you really have to do for most suppressors. Now, if you have a suppressor you can take apart and clean, go ahead and do that. If you have a sealed suppressor, you don't need to really worry about it because that heat and pressure is going to clean your suppressor, okay? It's basically self-cleaning, all right? And maybe after a couple thousand rounds, you can dunk it in a solvent bath. All right, guys, so I finished the cleaning, and you can see inside it is just right down to the metal there. Okay, so that's pretty much all you really need to do with a suppressor. If you have one you can take apart, by all means take it apart and clean it. But that's pretty much all I do to keep my suppressors running. And it did take me a little while. Okay, it took me probably a good hour to clean all that stuff off. But again, that's, you know, after probably 100 rounds of 300 Win Mag, and maybe even more, and then maybe a couple hundred rounds of 308. So I don't do this kind of cleaning very often. So that's pretty much it, guys. Take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 P's: prepare, practice, and persevere.